Back here with another video, some updates on the Middle East, especially what's going on with Iran, Israel, the USA. So basically, President Trump has been touting himself as the peacemaker in all these foreign conflicts, whether it be Ukraine, Russia, India, Pakistan, Iran, Israel, Gaza, Hamas, and Israel. So he's claiming to have ended what he has named the 12-day war between Iran and Israel. He just gave it that name. Again, this is more manipulation. We're going to get to that later. But this war's not over. There's just a pause. Why is Netanyahu in Washington, D.C. today? Why did he come to visit D.C., talk with all the important leaders in the U.S.? Basically, in short, it's because the war is not over. There's just been a pause in the hostilities between the two sides, with Israel trying to restock and reload for a longer, more prolonged conflict with Iran. There was even reports of ammunition being sent from multiple different countries, one of them being Germany, being transported to Israel. Many others, I'm sure, maybe secretly, no one really is hearing about it or knows about it, but it's happening. Israel and the U.S. are trying to plan the next steps of what they hope will lead to regime change in Iran. This is something that Seymour Hersh, a very famous, quite elderly at this point, but very famous and important journalist, has reported on to this effect, that the U.S. and Israel have decided that they want to pursue regime change in Iran. So they're just talking probably about tactics, how to surprise them, how to catch them off guard, which is very difficult to do at this point after they've already bombed them. Both countries have bombed within Iran's sovereign airspace and territory. So at this point, they should be expecting anything and everything and be prepared for anything. So if anything, I think up until this point, the strategy has failed. I think they wanted it to be quick, no major losses, no major casualties to themselves, Israel and the U.S. Bases in the Middle East, and obviously, there's reports of thousands of buildings in Israel being damaged because of Iran's retaliation to what must be said, Israel initially starting the hostilities. So this war was not started by Iran, but they defended themselves. And now they're going to be, on the back foot, of course, especially if the US is involved, but they must be, prepared and ready for whatever's coming, whatever they think might be coming. So the probability that they would be caught off guard a second time, because the first time I think they were caught off guard because they were being negotiated with directly, and then a strike happened right when negotiations were about to resume. It's not looking good for the whole situation in that region of the world. And because of the involvement of the US and Israel in the Middle East, the region as a whole is just more dangerous and more chaotic and more hectic and more precarious after Trump's bunker busters were dropped on Fordo and other nuclear sites. So this propaganda that they're trying to spin that, this wasn't an attack, this wasn't a declaration of war, this wasn't anything major, it was just destroying the nuclear sites because we can't have them having nukes. It's obviously stupid and bullshit. So the fact that bunker busters were dropped on Fordo and however much damage was done, maybe it was destroyed altogether. Either way, this doesn't mean the region is safer. Iran has announced that they've withdrawn from the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, and clearly they no longer consider the U.S., Trump, or the IAEA honest actors. If they ever did believe that, they no longer do, obviously, because they're not participating or cooperating with them anymore. They've announced that publicly. So basically, if they do decide to pursue a nuke in the future, they're not going to be able to be detected by anyone. And the U.S. and Israel will just be playing, blindfolded, shot in the dark, whether or not they have it or not. And if they do have it and they decide to attack and go for regime change, uh, worst case scenario, I mean, they might try to defend themselves with a nuke, which is obviously horrendous for everyone involved. Anyways, moving on. Why is this being done if it makes the region and indeed the world more unstable and more precarious? Um, Basically, there are economic and geostrategic considerations at play, many details of which we and indeed nobody may be privy to. So we don't really know what exactly the plan is long term. But ultimately, Israel's objective, which they will not be able to achieve without the help from the US, is to be a regional hegemon. So the same way the US is for the world, the hegemon at the moment, with maybe China closing in slowly, but America's still the global hegemon. Israel wants to be the Middle East's America. They want to be the hegemon in that region, and who knows what their ambitions hold. Further down the line, how ambitious they want to get. Um, and if Iran is toppled successfully with no major damage to Israel, this is what will happen. They will be the regional hegemon, in my opinion, with the added caveat of the domino left that hasn't fallen yet is Turkey. They're still, a strong country with a big military and in NATO that can be, if they want to, which there's a lot of questions as to whether they have any animosity towards Israel at the top levels. If they want to, they can be a challenge to Israel, but I don't see that being a confrontation that happens anytime soon. Meanwhile, today Netanyahu announced that he is nominating Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, this is an irony of not even irony. This is a comedy. This is a tragic comedy of all comedies. Like, they're making a mockery out of institutions and rule of law, international law, and any basic democratic and traditional. How do you want to say? Not traditional necessarily, but like vestiges of democratic and egalitarian and rules-based order, international order. They're just making a mockery of it. This is the same guy, Netanyahu, who's killed maybe 200, maybe 300, maybe 400,000 people in Gaza, doing a genocide, and he's talking about nominating someone else for a peace prize. It's a joke. It's funny, almost. Like, if it wasn't sad, you would want to laugh at it, but it's more tragic than sad, than funny, so you shouldn't really laugh at it. If you wonder, why does it feel like we're always being manipulated or misled by our leaders, and kind of like, oh, look at this new thing, oh, look at this, oh, misdirection, manipulation, well, let me just assure you, you aren't going crazy if you feel this way. This is a symptom of democratic decay or disintegration. Academics also call it democratic backsliding. Everything is manipulation or shaping a narrative, public relations, PR. How can we manipulate the people's opinions on what we did here or what we did there or what we're going to do here? How can we shape it in such a way that makes it so that the outcome can be more preferable, so there's less opposition to it, less protest, less disruption, less leaking of our plans? So this is democratic backsliding is what academics call it. This is true in Israel, this is true in the United States, this is true in many of the world's leading powerful countries. Russia's not a democracy. US is headed towards not less and less democracy. England's headed in that direction. Germany's headed in that direction. France, arguably, this is a worldwide trend. Turkey's that way. China, if you want to argue that. So um, it's a concerning trend if you consider yourself a person with democratic values and ideals, not the party, not the Democratic Party, but like you believe in democracy, then you should be concerned, and for good reason. Meanwhile, while all this is happening, and I think you're gonna see in the next, I don't, timeline is not clear. You can never be sure what the timeline for something like this will be. But these hostilities will restart sooner or later. When they do, who knows where it'll lead? But Israel can't win alone against Iran. They can't beat them by themselves. This was very obviously, you could see it in the first 12-day war. What happened? Israel ran out of ammunition and fuel, and they couldn't keep up the hostilities, and so they had to broker a pause, or President Trump did, whoever you believe. Meanwhile, while all this is going on, everyone has forgotten about Gaza. How convenient for Israel. No one's talking about Gaza. No one's talking about how there's genocide that's ongoing. They're killing tens and tens and tens, if not hundreds of people every day. They're going to get food. They're getting shot. They're going to try to help their family get some aid. They're getting shot. So the Palestinians in Gaza have been all but forgotten, as they keep misdirecting our attention into other events. If Israel can't defeat Hamas after almost 2 years of hostilities, what makes you think you can defeat Iran, a state which supposedly supports Hamas and gives them help? And obviously, if one is helping the other, the one that is being helped by the state is not as strong as the state itself, obviously. So if they can't defeat Iran by themselves, what makes you think they can defeat if they can't defeat Hamas by themselves, what makes you think they can defeat Iran by themselves? The answer is they can't, without help from the U.S. And so all this manipulation and like trying to point the conversation towards something else is to goad involvement from American leaders, and ideally the population would be on board as well. So these huge amount of protests that we saw from students in college campuses and from regular civilians as well, on the genocide that's ongoing. If they can tamp that down, if they can manage to manipulate the citizens in such a way that makes them support this sort of a military effort, that would be ideal for them. But I'm not so sure they'll be able to do that. People in the U.S. are sick of these never-ending wars. They have been for, I think, more than a decade. Arguably, President Obama got elected against Hillary Clinton because he was anti-Iraq war from the beginning. Arguably, that's what won him the nomination and then the White House. So I think people are sick of these endless Middle Eastern wars. All I wanted to say is that we cannot let this happen as a citizenry in this country. We cannot let the Palestinians be forgotten. We cannot let Gaza be forgotten. We cannot let them goad us into war. This is not in our interests as a population, as a country, as a nation, as a world. This doesn't serve any legitimate national security or economic or environmental or any sort of interest in these directions. If this is successful, it's not going to help us. It's not going to make us richer. It's not going to make us more economically independent. It's not going to make us stronger. It's going to make people distrust us more, if anything, on the world stage. More countries are going to be like, oh, if they can just topple this government because they didn't have a nuke to defend themselves, then let's get a nuke. Let's hide it from them. No cooperation with the IAEA. Let's just secretly develop our own nuke and then have it. And then once we do have it, we'll announce it to the world so that they don't touch us. And we'll say we have it and don't mess with us, because we will use it if we need to defend our sovereignty, leadership, whatever you want to say. So just as simple as that. We can't let something like this happen. If you ask me, do we have all the cards? Is it in our hands? Not really, because the election just happened like 6-7 months ago. Trump has 3 more years at least, if not more, to do whatever he wants. At least until the midterms. If who knows what happens until then, but I think the midterms are far enough away where he can do a lot of damage in these interceding months. So call your congressman, call your senator, call your leaders, and tell them you're going to vote them out if you don't see them acting and behaving in ways that try to stop this behavior. What else can I say? We'll be back here with another one sooner rather than later. Hopefully not talking about this again. Hopefully nothing new happens on this front. But I think it's important enough where I need to make another video on it. My hunch and my feeling is that this is not over. It's not going to be just a 12-day war. It's going to start again. I hope I'm wrong. If I am wrong, that's probably all the better for the world and for us as Americans, and Middle Easterners, anyone living there if you watch this channel. But yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Can like, share, and subscribe if you like this content. We'll try to get back to more, book reviews and book topics, whether it's philosophy or politics related, sooner rather than later. But I think these news stories recently have been taking precedent for me because I think they're significant. That's why I'm kind of leaning more in this direction lately. But that doesn't mean we have to be there forever. All right. Well, like, share, subscribe. Thank you for watching. Comment. I'll respond to all your comments. Any questions you have. If you didn't understand something, or if you think I'm wrong about something, bring your points. Make sure you do your homework, because I will expose you. All right. Thanks. Bye.